Okay. Um, Tonight we're talking about Dave Chappelle. So you might be like, why is anybody talking? I know, don't my boobs look great, guys? I'm sorry, but they just look good, so I wanted to show them. Anyway, so you're like, why are we talking about Dave Chappelle? So basically, Dave Chappelle was at a community meeting that was like a day ago, it looks like. And you might be like, okay, why should anybody care about that? So it looks like Dave Chappelle is trying to invest. Dave Chappelle lives in Ohio. The cost of living in Ohio is pretty low. Like, I live in California in the Bay Area, so it's like the second most expensive place to live in the world. But he lives in Ohio. It's not even on the list at all. But he's like the wealthiest person, I think, in his little community. So what Dave Chappelle's trying to do is invest $65 million into a community development center with like a restaurant and a comedy club in that community, because he lives in that community. He's raising his family in that community, but he was at this city council meeting because there was an opposing proposition to instead build community housing in that area, in this, like that. So there's an area of land, and there's two proposing structures that are trying to be built there. On one hand, there's a $22 million proposal for community housing. The second plan is for Dave Chappelle's like restaurant and comedy club sector, right? There's only one parcel of land, and only one thing can go there. Now, the community development for housing would be, it said like the family homes would run for like between $200,000 and $300,000. That's a very low amount for a home. Like, a home in the Bay Area costs like $1.5 million at this point. So a $200,000 home. These are people who work at like grocery stores. Like, they're not. These are like really, really blue collar Americans who would be living there. And then the housing complex would also include affordable housing units. Okay, so here's the thing, and I want to explain this just because I feel like some people do not understand. And here's another thing. I think my channel is for smart people. So if you're like an idiot, this channel's not for you. You need to go to a channel with like a dumber person who's like way less educated about the world, because I'm not gonna explain terms and shit here. That's not why I'm here. If you are keeping up, good. Comment, or I think I turned off comments, but do whatever you want. Well, if you say foul shit, I do retaliate. So I don't know, take your chances. The point being, though, Dave Chappelle grew up middle class. Now, that's important here because Dave Chappelle has never lived in community housing, affordable housing. Now, I too have never lived in community housing, so the only reference that I have to community housing problems are like TV shows, kind of like The Jeffersons, even though I tried watching it, but it was just, it was awful. I couldn't get into it. It was just like a whole show about depravity, and it was just really like, I don't know. The only show I really watched growing up that I liked 101. That was a good one with Kyla Pratt. Sister Sister, that was obviously a good one. But basically, The Cosby Show. Not like with the Huxtables, and personally I just relate to Denise, who was like a girl who grew up in the city and has all these experiences with different people in the city. Like, I relate to that because that her experience in Brooklyn is very similar to my experience in a similar city, San Francisco. So I really don't know what everybody else is talking about because I've like always lived in the city. So yeah. And I've always lived in a house. Like, this is my first time this year ever living in an apartment. Like, I've lived in a house, a single family house that was owned by a family member my entire life. So I don't really know what it's like to have, like, I guess this is my first time having neighbors. I've had some noise complaints because I got like a JBL speaker. Here's the deal. Here's where I think the problem lies in terms of Dave Chappelle and his issue with the community housing. First of all, Dave Chappelle's rich. He's not trying to live around poor people. And the thing about poor people is, instead of believing in themselves and trying to like build shit for themselves, they are very interested in talking about other people and critiquing other people's lives. Now, Dave Chappelle, I'm assuming, I don't know this for sure, but I'm assuming is not interested in being like the talk of the town for somebody else's life. I fucking feel you, because I be trying to do the same shit. This is why I'll do like 17 million things in a day. But it's like, yeah, if you're on the internet, how the fuck would you know? Because I'm not telling you. I'm just like, I'm actually doing the shit in my life. I don't need to be on, I mean, I could be on Instagram highlighting every single moment of my day, but like, what would that really do for you? Nothing. And also, like, I don't feel like editing and then getting the right frame and making it all pretty for you. Like, no. Like, you know, like the shit I want to share, I share. The shit that I don't. And I don't think I have to make sense of my life for you to understand it just because you're boring and ugly or something. Like, that's not my responsibility. That's yours. Okay, anyway, so I think the issue with Dave Chappelle is that he's saying, well, I don't want to live around. Well, first of all, I'm not going to build any community anything if you build this housing complex with affordable units because, like, frankly, he doesn't want to raise his family around that. And that makes sense. He's worked so hard to get to like where he is, and especially as a black person, he deserves luxury. And he's choosing to live in that broke ass state anyway. So like he could easily go like live it up with Kevin Hart and Kanye and all that, who are like his friends. You know what I'm saying? Like he could just dip out, go be in Malibu with the rest of them, but he's choosing not to. So to make that, I think honestly, Dave Chappelle would do very well in a city like Berkeley or Brooklyn, where we are cultured and we're not back alley hippies like Ohio. But you know, the broke whites got to go somewhere. So we'll just say that. All right, what else is there? Yeah, so basically what I'm saying is Dave Chappelle, I feel like he's gotten to a place where he's like, I don't want to live around that. I'm not going to invest in that. So if that is what you're going to do, I am not going to invest in it. I'm pulling out my money, and that makes sense because he should not have to like put his money and his time into that space. Like that is not his responsibility, and I get it. I get it. I get it. Um, I just wonder what the outcome of this will be because it looks like that hearing happened. So he like showed up in person to the community meeting. We can actually just play the community meeting. So I just watched it. And he's pissed. He was like, "Bro, if you do this, I'm pulling out." And I was like, "Oh shit." Like, he wasn't playing. He was like, "Not about that shit." So here he is. He's like at the meeting.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Hi, I'm Dave Chapelle. I just want to say, and Marianne, I can talk to you about this privately. I don't know why the village council would be afraid of litigation from a $24 million a year company while they X out a $65 million a year company.
Facts.
I cannot believe you would make me audition for you. You look like clowns.
Facts.
I am not bluffing. I will take it all off the table. That's all. Thank you.
Take your money, black man. You better take your money elsewhere. Honestly, he should bring his fucking money. Well, I mean, he could bring it to Oakland, but it's a lot of shit. I would advise not. But maybe open a restaurant in Berkeley. I'll tell him the same thing I told Ralph. If you're trying to stay out of hood politics, do not move to Oakland. Also, I guess Mahershala Ali bought a home in the Oakland Hills, which, you know, I don't know. I think some black people believe that they can like escape all of the Oakland bullshit by simply living in the hills around white people or other wealthy black people. Like Mahershala Ali, he's got money, but not enough money to like escape. Like his house is only worth $1 million. Like the dentists are like richer than you out here in that particular case. Like let's just see. Mahershala Ali net worth. Yeah, he's worth $12 million, and he has a wife who I think is also an actress or actor or something. I just think that in his particular and I will say the same thing to any of the new blacks coming to Oakland like Oakland specifically, like it is much safer to live in a middle class, a middle class community of color, like a Fremont. Like a Fremont is a very like nice place to live. It's full of like first generation Asian immigrants, all the kinds too, like the brown ones, the white ones, the yellow ones. Like Fremont is a really good place where I think more of these like black people who are immigrating to like California and the Bay Area, they're moving to Oakland because like Oakland has like the scene and shit. But Oakland also has violence. But like I don't think you guys understand the politics around the violence in Oakland. It's real bad. It's real bad. And hopefully it will change, but I think people just don't understand the sheer like history behind the violence and the poverty. It's just like it's gross. Like I mean that's one, it's just like gross and long stemming, and it's just kind of like any person who like occupies a black body, there's like an assumption that you're a part of that even though you're not, but they just look at black people and they just like believe like you are one of us, and it's just like not really, no. But you can't, what can you say? I don't know. There's nothing to say. You gotta kind of be like, I don't know what to say. So there's that. And you know, good luck to him because there's the Yuppies, there's Sylvia, there's Bari, who all live in the Oakland Hills. But even Sylvia's husband's like 10 times richer than Mahershala Ali. So I don't know. Like I think he's too poor to live in Oakland. I think he should move to Fremont. It's safer. It's better. I don't think he could afford San Francisco, but even maybe like San Francisco might be better. You could get something by like the ocean front for like $1 million, right? Like, yeah, they have those below market rate homes. He could totally get one of those, you know? I think he should do that. It's just not safe to be like black in Oakland right now, especially he's just like so famous. Like everyone fucking and he's literally done all the films that are about like actual like midnight or whatever. Isn't that what it's called? Midnight? That shit was about some gay Oakland stuff. And it was kind of like, I don't think you actually want to like live there. It's like way too close to home, I would think. Maybe though, who knows? I guess like being a hometown hero is something for like Kaylani and the other fags, but he's like not. It seems like he's actually like a family type of person, and I'm just telling you from personal experience, man. Somebody one day will learn from my experiences. I don't know who, but somebody will. And to you who's taking notes and soaking in all this game that I'm giving out for free, for free. Like I'm just like literally giving y'all like life tips, and I feel like some people are just ungrateful and they always be thinking I'm joking about everything until 3 months later the exact same thing that I already said surfaces and comes to life, and then everybody's like, oh my god, Olivia wasn't joking. Like, yeah, no bitch, I wasn't joking. Also, I never joke, even though I laugh about some of this shit I said. Also, don't my pores look good? Okay, so I did like a mask tonight. Yeah. I'm not even drunk. I'm just high on life. Also, I think that when I like stay away from people for like long enough, I'm really able to like get in my zone, you know, just like feel myself out. And like today was a day where I feel like I did harbor a little bit more resentment toward my mother because she did give me a very special ring on Valentine's Day a few years ago. And I wore that ring every day until I lost it like last year. Or it was stolen, whichever happened. I can't remember. It was a hard year last year. But yeah, it just made me think of all of the reasons why I do hate her, and my brother too, specifically my brother. But then I got to a place where I realized, like, hey, hating these old people, Olivia, is not really going to serve you in your future. I also thought about what it would be like to steal Ariel away and move to Germany and hire a hitman. But that's a plan I'd have to think about executing, no pun intended, later on in life next year. So